This is going to be some fun today. We have um, a special guest host today, Leslie Young, who is a astronomer who does real astronomy, not just somebody who's a hobbyist. This is somebody who contributes to our understanding of our place in the universe on a daily basis and is incredibly cool. Um, so we are delighted to have Leslie Young with us. Um, and if you felt sad when you lost Pluto, um, Leslie can knows where Pluto is. So what we're going to now do is do a dive um, into how we can engage with the night and also engage with outer space in our nature journals. Um, now, Leslie, maybe we should start by, could you kind of give, people have seen you participating, but I don't think anybody has any idea of just what it is that you're doing and what your credentials are in this. And it's pretty cool. So I want to encourage you just to toot your horn a little bit. Let us know um, a little bit about your engagement with the study of our universe. Oh, hold on, we're muted. There we go.
Yes, yes, and I don't think so. I've not been on this forum before. I've been on the Thursdays a few times. Um, I've been an astronomer since '88, when there were 5 minutes that changed my life, when I was in an airplane that flew into the shadow cast by a star being shadowed by Pluto. And that was when we discovered Pluto's atmosphere. So 5 minutes that change your life. After that, you uh, you kind of don't have much choice
Wait.
to.
You said the shadow of a star that so Pluto became between you and this distant star, and you're able to figure out where you would have to be on where that little tiny shadow was going to be bopping across the Earth, detected it
Yep,
and were able to figure out what was going on with the atmosphere on Pluto.
yep, yep. And being in an airplane, so you could fly into the shadow, be above the clouds, and so fast forward a few decades, I was the deputy project scientist on NASA's New Horizons mission to Pluto, and the person in charge of putting together the entire observation sequence. So I've been a working astronomer since '88, and yet, whenever you hang out with somebody who's a real who's an amateur or who's a lecturer at a planetarium or a small, reacts with the public, um, boy, they know their way around the sky in a way that the professionals don't. Um, it was kind of fun being tag teaming with Jack in Tanzania. Um, so because he could just sort of extemporize for 10 minutes as I fiddled around with the tiny telescope I brought.
I have a Boy Scouts knowledge of the sky, and it just about ends there. Um, the but you're able to kind of go deep and also understand not just like this is something that's going on with Pluto, but how it is that we know those things. So you're also something that I really love is to also make ties to not just what the status of information that we're getting from science is, but the process that goes into determining that, which also then allows us to put error bars on our confidence on any of those claims.
um, and some of the reasons why it might be really cool that you didn't realize it was really cool. Like when I heard XOXO, I just had come back from the big annual planetary science meeting where there was an awful lot of XOXO talk, EXO, because exoplanets are planets too. Um, don't let other people tell you what's a planet. That's what I have to say. Um, so before I went on the Tanzania trip, I looked up Roseanne Hanson's video on some ideas of how to do some night sketching. I brought along some black paper, had her idea of laying down layers of dark colors. And back in August, at one of the Thursdays, I showed this journal page. I
I'm
woke
going to
up.
reduce my screen. There we are. Yes.
So I woke up early in the morning. In Tanzania, there was the beginning of the beautiful Jupiter-Mars dance that has been going on all summer and fall. And they had passed each other already by August, and we're starting to move apart. But August, you could see the Pleiades, you could see Orion, and plus I got, in fact, Jack, how can you identify the sound of something that you never even heard? Yes, indeed, it was a juvenile great horned owl. You're astonishing. So, I showed this on a Thursday, and Jack said, "Huh, what's the most fun planet to watch go retrograde?" And I said, "Well, it's got to be Mars, because the inner ones, when they go retrograde, it's because they're behind the sun, you can't see them, and the outer ones go too slow." But it turns out that both Mars and Jupiter are doing a fun thing this together summer, fall into winter. So I found this nice uh, map of the background constellations and Mars's retrograde loop and Jupiter's retrograde loop. And so I've been going out and putting dots along their path when I go out, and seeing Mars tiptoe in on the toes of Gemini, and then going up toward their belly buttons, and now they're leaving Gemini. It's leaving Gemini.
So let's maybe back up for just a moment.
Yep.
And so looking at planets in retrograde is one of the things that we can observe. And
Mm-hmm.
this is a big deal thing, because this helped us, if you have a model that the Earth is in the center of everything and everything's going around the Earth, um, then this um, the observations of retrograde start to introduce a lot of confusion and problems. Maybe kind of unpack that for people, and then kind of we can look at how we can perhaps record this in our own journals. And as we
Mm-hmm.
do that, what we're doing is we're actually collecting evidence for phenomena which we have been told since we were small people is the way that things are, but we probably have never actually observed that ourselves. So, what's the deal with retrograde?
Okay, so the short version is um, we're moving faster than the planets out beyond us, and so um, we catch up to them, and it looks like so it's if this finger is moving very slowly and my head moves quickly, then the finger moves backwards against the back of the room. So that's the short version. But inspired by Jack, I came up with something where, okay, this is very messy, but and in a better world, I would have set up my um, goose napkin.
It's okay. The world that we live in couldn't get any better. And let's just make do with whatever we have.
Um, yeah, right. That's a surprise ending of Candide, right? Um, Best of all possible worlds, because there's only one possible world. But that's okay. Uh, that's a digression. So anyway, um, in about 20 minutes, going from blank page to a deep understanding of how at least three of the things are moving around in our solar system, and a visceral. What I found fun about this was
Maybe hold a
you
little bit higher.
you get to feel it viscerally in your hand. That the normal, what's called prograde, feels like you're unscrewing the jar of peanuts, which is completely natural because of course you want to get to the peanuts. But if you're at the Earth looking at Jupiter, there'll be a point where your wrist turns the other way and it feels like you're screwing the peanut jar back closed. And why would you ever do that? Completely unnatural, completely bizarre. So what I found nice was this was a way of um, relating the Earth around the sun and what constellations you're seeing at which time of year and where the planets are and how quickly they move through the constellations, but also the retrograde, and then also getting that visceral feel in the wrist. So trying to figure out how to do this, and thought, and I'm seeing, hey, people have seeing the Aurora Borealis, and talking about the moon. It's a really bright moon tonight. It's closer than usual, so that's fun. Um, the normal, yes, normal is called prograde. So Jack and I have been playing phone tag and been catching each other for 17 seconds at a time. And he said, well, you do this and then people could check in. Well, if you're going to check in, that's not a call's worth. And there may be other people who are interested in journaling the night sky or have ideas about journaling the night sky or saying, I did this and it didn't work. Um, or if you're journaling with red light, here are the right colors you should bring out with you, or who knows what. Um, so, so with the I floated the idea of having a. We'll see how. We'll see what it turns into, but having a chance of meeting this coming Monday, and um, regularly after that. And I'd love to see if hear about other people's aurora bits, hear about anybody who tried and succeeded or tried and failed to catch the comet, and what worked, what didn't. Um, yeah.
Excellent. So let's do just a little bit of sharing of phenomena in the sky. If you've got any journal pages with you that we can share, we can queue those up. And what we'll do is we'll look at the sorts of things that people have been noticing in the sky and ways that people have recorded that in their journals. And then let's take a look at some gear and equipment that people might want to bring with them, and ways to modify gear that you already have to make it even more useful. And then at the end, let's return back to this idea of retrograde, do a little demo of why it's cool, why it baffled some people with a geocentric view of planetary motion, and how we might be able over the next several months to be able to record that event in our own journals. So Mars is not yet in retrograde, is that right?
That's right. It is not yet.
And Jupiter's in the middle of a retrograde.
It has just begun to go retrograde, and
Okay.
it is um, east of two brightish stars, and it is moving west. So you'll get to see it get in line with those two stars. Is going to be
Oh, all
the
right.
easy
So
way.
let's save retrograde for the end of this show. But let's maybe begin with find out if anybody has been comet or aurora borealis journaling. Um, I've maybe what I'll share something from my journal, and then I would love to see what else is in other people's journals. I'd love to take a look at a bunch of different ways that people have of doing this. So if you have one of those phenomena in your journal, um, or if you've got an eclipse or other or moon observations or other things that you think are would be fun to share, let's kind of queue those up right now and share those with you. I'm going to start just by opening up a couple of things in my journal. And let's go to the document camera. Um, this was last night. Let's zoom down on it. Ba-doo. And please don't poop
I'm
out.
so happy you caught it. I
Uh,
wasn't sure.
yep.
Yay.
I was really happy. I was trying to sort of wait, and I wanted to kind of get out there, bring family, bring friends, and my daughters had a night with lots of homework and could not get out last night. We were hoping to do it today, but now it's overcast. But I went up to a ridge that overlooks the Pacific Ocean, and once I was looking in the right direction. When I was looking out of the corner of my eye, there was um, little I don't know how to spell it, pronounce it. How do you say that? Tshushian?
Yeah. Everybody I know pronounces it A3.
A3. Okay. All right. Good old little A3. There it was, sort of out of the corner of my eye. I could see this sort of glowing stripe. So I recorded the angle that it was, how many degrees it was above the ground, and was delighted to have that little moment. Um, a few days before, I got up in the middle of the night. Um, I had heard that there's a chance of seeing the aurora, and I was over by Mono Lake in California, and had for a while I was looking and waiting and looking and waiting and looking and waiting, and it's just a dark sky. And then I thought I need to be doing a bunch of driving tomorrow, so I do need some sleep tonight, but how will I wake myself up without waking up the rest of the family? So I drank a ton of water. So I had my own little inner clock. Um, and fell asleep. A few hours later, I woke up and went outside, and this was the sky over Mono Lake. So there's this red glow. That's which I think is supposed to be high elevation oxygen. And then there were these little green, these would sort of the glow was permanent, and then these green things would appear and disappear. And that was really, really fun. So I put a little bit of Northern Lights in for reference, and that made me very happy. Um, just an example of other things that I've done astro-wise in my journals. Here we go. Let's see if I can back up even more. This was tracking with a group of students. This was my daughter's school and the profile of my daughter's school. And we tracked the position of the moon as it went across the sky. And we go out at the same time each day, or sorry, once, yeah, same time each day, and we would get these different positions of the moon. And it was really fun because they could watch each day the moon was a little bit further in this direction. And then if you watched it throughout that day, it would then trace back on this track. And then the next day it would be a little bit further over here and trace back on the track. And so there was the moon's motion this way, and there's the moon's motion this way. And the um, then we had these really interesting discussions about caused the what was caused by the motion of the moon around the Earth, what was the Earth spinning, and all these sort of things that led to some really, really great conversations. and that was a hoot. Um, this was on one night looking at the position of how the crescent of Venus. I wanted to see if it changed angles as it moved across the sky in the course of one night. And final thing in here, I believe. There we go. I went to the great state of Texas, um, and got to see the annular eclipse there. So this was a little bit of eclipse peeping. I have two views. One is through the eclipse glasses. That's how it looks when I look at it through the glasses. My telescope flips it. And so this is the view through the telescope. But through or actually this is drawing the cast image of the sun through the telescope. And so I could just trace it, and I could trace the sunspots. And so these are tracings of the sun as it went into the full annular eclipse. And then as it came out of that, again, I'm pairing these views that have um, the, uh, the traced view and the view through my little solar glasses. And my favorite part, though, was this. This is a little sketch of all these little white circles at this point here, the ring of fire. Underneath all the trees were all of these little circlets that were dancing as the wind blew the little leaves in the trees. So those are some examples of um, astronomical phenomena that I can observe in my own journal. And we'd love to encourage you folks to share um, any that you have. So let's use the raise hand function. If anybody has some fun examples of astro happies. I So hey there, Leslie. Let's see what's going on
Okay,
in your journal.
so I've got two. On the other side, you can see how far I've come from just about a year ago. Wow, October 16th. This is how I drew birds. Exactly one.
Ah,
Oh my goodness.
you put in some pencil miles since then.
Yes. So this was the partial eclipse looking through glasses and noticing I thought it looked paler, which
Oh,
I thought was strange.
hmm.
And um
It's neat to pay attention to the things that are surprises.
yes. And then um a month ago, the moon was near the beehive in the constellation the Crab. And could I see it in binoculars if I have the moon there to help me out? And the answer is yes. And it looked sort of kind of like that, right? So, yes, there uh
So
um
tell us a little bit more about the beehive. What is?
I think that it's an open cluster. I think it's a collection of stars that got formed near the same time. So they collapsed out of a uh, a large gas cloud. So as it begins to uh, um, let's see, when it gets, let's see, I do not know the details of, in particular, the beehive, and maybe I should write it down on that page. Maybe that would be fun and deeply grounding.
Got a homework project now.
A homework project now, yes. Um, um, so you have these often you have these large uh, gas clouds, and something comes through to make local density, which is enough for the gas to collapse by self-gravity. So maybe a supernova goes off and you have a shock wave that goes through that.
Hmm.
And when that means that you have this nursery of stars, which all uh, begin to collapse at the same time. And so they look pretty, but they're also very useful to be able to know that all these stars of different masses and sizes and brightnesses are all the same age. So that
Hmm.
lets you.
Hmm. That's fun. Are there any other astronomy moments in that journal that you wanted to share?
No, but I do want to share clear dark sky is it sucks up the NOAA data, the National Weather Service, and it does pinpoint predictions of not is it going to rain or not, but what's the percentage cloud cover hour by hour. So tonight Mount Tam looks good, for
Oh,
example.
um, so what is the name of that resource?
Clear dark sky.
Clear Dark Sky. Okay.
It's a beautiful thing.
Um, so I can go to that's a website or is it an app?
It they may have an app as well. I've used it as a website since the 90s. So um
I'll make sure that I put it in the show notes too. I see the link that you put in the chat, so I'll make sure it
okay.
goes to the show notes.
Maybe just start at cleardarksky.com and you can pick your province or your state, and then you can look at a list or a map.
Hmm. By any chance, does it also have historical data?
Let me see. I do not know. Um,
If it does, that will help me with a little investigation that I've got going on the side.
um, I do not know, but I think the person who runs it might be responsive.
Oh, okay. I will. I
Um,
will. I will. If they don't have it, I will reach out. I like that. So I'm now going to bop over to the gallery view and checking my gallery. Is there anybody? Um, is there anyone who would? Let's see. Is there anybody who would like to share an astronomy moment in their own journal? Billie Jo. All right.
Hey, so I don't have a ton. I'd like to do more, but I was able to get out. Woo, my pens are flying all over the place. I was able to get out in Ontario when we had the eclipse happen, which was really fun. So it was not we didn't see like a huge amount of it, but I looked through the glasses and all that kind of good stuff, and it was pretty cool. Sorry, I'm just changing my view here so I can make sure I'm in the middle. And so what I did was sort of watched it as it kind of got darker. So where we were, we didn't get the full darkness like a lot of people did around the world. We only got like some partials. But I thought it was really cool is that I was watching the orientation. And so when I first looked at it through the glasses, I noticed it was really bright yellow, and I sort of timed it as it went through. And then I watched it sort of rotate around. So I don't know if it actually rotated or if it's just the way that it sort of looked through my eyes or whatever. I'm not sure. And then sometimes it was like I could see a reflection. So I don't know if that was the moon's reflection or I don't really know what it was, but it just always looked in some certain spots like there was some kind of reflection that was happening. And then I sort of documented it by time. And so my time intervals, I wouldn't say that they were specific, but I kind of when I noticed something was different. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like a 325 and then a 331 and then a 340 and then a 344. So anytime I noticed that there was like a significant sort of movement, I kind of put that in. And then so I said sometimes it looks like we can see like a halo or like a reflection of the moon. So I was wondering, like, is it an illusion? Like, am I crazy? And then I was curious about what the math was behind the rotation and the orientation, because that's not something that's a specialty of mine. So I didn't know what that was looking like. And then I just sort of made some observations that we put our hoods on, making it darker. And then we could actually see the light, like the haze around the sun. So once we sort of were able to sort of darken out like around our glasses, that actually gave us like a bit of a different view, because it was pretty bright where we were, which I thought was really interesting. And so yeah, so we would have been standing to the sort of like looking west, I would say, when we were looking at this. And so we did notice like a quick sort of shadow. And so it lasted for us about 5 seconds that we sort of had like the most darkness.
Yeah.
But we did not get like that fully dark, but we did notice a temperature drop. So we could feel the temperature drop as well, which was really interesting because it was a very bright and very sunny day. Which we thought was interesting. So myself and Dave and the girls sort of went out and we had to find a space. So we had to do a little hunting to be able to find a space where we could see the sun that wasn't sort of impeded by the trees or things like that. So we were able to keep driving and we did find sort of one spot, which was pretty cool. So that was that. And then when we were all together, I guess it was last summer in the Sierras, we had a lovely lady who I cannot remember her name right now. She came out and did some stars. So it was my first sort of experience doing a little bit of a painted night sky and then kind of dotting in. And one of the things that I always see around here too is the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper, and then that sort of Draco dragon going in between the two. And so I was able to kind of spot that in and then made some observations and things on what they were kind of talking about. But I'd like to do some more of that. But honestly, I'm usually in bed. So that was that.
That is really cool.
It was
That
fun.
is really so could you hold up that page, that last one again, with the eclipse?
Yeah. I just have to find it. Hold on 1 sec. Yeah, this one. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell us me a little bit about your thinking about, I'm seeing first of all, I'm kind of a planned organized grid, and you're using a diagonal line then across the center of it to orient yourself to where the peak of that dark is. And that's really useful. Could you talk to us a little bit about doing that? That's a great strategy.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't even remember that I had done that until you pointed it out. But I felt like when I was looking at the circle, I needed some way to sort of remind myself of like how the angle was sort of changing as it went through. And so to me, it made the most sense to do these sort of like little dotted sort of grid lines. And then sort of as it kind of moved, I was able to sort of do the hashtags like kind of on an angle to see how that was kind of changing. And that's when I kind of really started to, I realized it by looking at it, but was realizing that it was somehow like shifting, like it was twisting and turning. And that was really my question on the math was like, am I seeing something crazy? But this was a way for me to sort of understand. And then it felt like I was able, if I split it into quadrants, was able to understand like how much of that quadrant it was taking up. So math wise, it made the most sense to me. Like this was over like 2 quadrants and a little bit, and then you get down to here where it's just in that, you know, that upper quadrant there. So it was a way for me to mathematically sort of visualize it.
Yes,
Yes. Over time.
That's a really useful strategy. May I steal your idea?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. You know, in the past, I've paid attention to like where sort of the point of sort of the apex of it is.
Yeah.
Having that then superimposed, put that over the crosshairs through the middle, so it makes it easier for you to visualize the clock, and then to look at the proportion of dark relative to that quadrant. It's going to be easier to see the dark and the light in those little areas.
Yeah, because this, I think in this section was really when I noticed it starting to turn, right? So here, and then it's like, oh, it's turning. And then like it's sort of, oh, sorry, it goes to here. And then I'm noticing it's like like it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So see, right in here is really where I sort of noticed that turn, which I thought I wasn't expecting the turn. I don't know why
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting the turn, but for some reason, well, to be honest, I'd never really looked at an eclipse before. Let's be honest, I've never paid attention before, let alone like documented it. So that to me was, I'm sure for most people that was like, yeah, Billie Jo, of course it rotates. But for me at the moment, it was new and exciting for me because I'd never seen that before. So
That's really
was
cool.
how I had to sort of visually put it into my brain and then to sort of convert it onto paper. And am I going to say that it's exact? No, but visually, this is, I would say, pretty
That's a
close
really
to what
useful
I
strategy. That's a
visually saw.
really useful strategy. And
Mhm.
also those arrows help me kind of go back to the beginning, to
Yeah,
the
then I
beginning.
kind of like ran out of like, I needed to make it in a way that it kept kind of going, right? So yes,
Yep.
my use of gigantic purple arrows is how I go down to the next line, which is interesting when you look in Zoom because it's backwards when I'm looking in Zoom. So
Oh, it zooms very weird that way.
yeah, so I was looking at it, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And I was like, oh, Billie Jo, because follow your arrow. There it goes.
There you go.
Oh yeah, so that's what it was.
That's really fun. That's really fun.
And then on Able on those ones too, if I saw anything different, then it was a space where I was able to like add extra notes. So if I saw a shadow or that's maybe where the temperature dropped or whatever, then you're able to
Yeah.
sort of add in those extra little notes. And it kind of still goes within that same timeline because I kind of timed it as I was doing it. So yeah.
Yeah. My approach was kind of all over the map when I was looking at that. And yours, I mean, and that's kind of fun,
Just two
but
different ways of doing it.
it is, yeah, but much easier to read the story and to see patterns the
Mm-hmm.
way that you have set it up.
Right.
That's neat. That's really
Yeah.
neat.
Yeah. There you go.
I like it. Like it a lot. So the maybe we can also share, are there any astronomy tools besides having Leslie along on your trip that are really, really helpful? Well, actually, I've got one other thing that maybe I can share this. This is an astronomy related idea. So I was investigating an idea with a friend of mine, um, who, here we go, who is suggesting an alternate hypothesis for why it's cold at night, which was that perhaps moonlight itself is cold. And so what this was is this is sort of data tables of looking at the temperatures of tiles that I put in shadow and tiles that were in moonlight and seeing if there was a difference between those. So there's the raw data. Here's statistical analysis of those, and here's sort of a visual of those. This is the one that is in moonlight, and this is the one that is in shadow. So measured temperatures measured two different ways, one with a no-touch thermometer and one with a forward-looking infrared thermometer. We didn't find any difference testing it this way in those those temperatures. But this is just sort of to say that, you know, here's another phenomena that we can investigate with our journals. And that's kind of fun. Leslie, do you think we should tackle the beast that is retrograde motion?
Um, sure. So I think on Sweet Darkness on Monday, we can go from blank page to the thing. Let me log in with my with my phone. So I did this during the pandemic so that my student and we could log in with our faces on the laptops and then point our phones at our log sheets. So join.
While you're setting that up, should we read Sweet Darkness? Yes? All right, so while we're getting that set up, the name of Leslie's workshop comes from this beautiful poem by David White. So we wanted to share that with you. When your eyes are tired, the world is tired also. When your vision has gone, no part of the world can find you. Time to go into the dark, where the night has eyes to recognize its own. There you can be sure you are not beyond love. The dark will be your womb tonight. The night will give you a horizon further than you can see. You must learn one thing. This world was made to be free in. Give up all the other worlds, except the one to which you belong. Sometimes it takes darkness and the sweet confinement of your aloneness to learn anything or anyone that does not bring you alive is too small for you. So I ended up writing that in my journal, just that idea of anyone or anything that does not bring you alive is too small for you.
I heard you put this on a recording of one of these forums, and I looked up that poem, and it got me sleeping out on the porch 2 nights ago. Okay.
All right, I'm going to make the Jack screen go away.
Okay.
And
so so this is sort of the end product. And since we're all educators here, well, let's see. Let's see if so to go from blank page to this took about 20 minutes running it through with a couple of the people I went to Tanzania with. But you have the sun in the middle, and you have the Earth going around in 1 year, and then in March, so it takes 1 year to go around, then you have to pick a 0 point. And so you pick the 0 point in the spring. So because the coordinates for the sky happened before we knew that the sun was in the middle, the 0 point is where does the sun look like in March? So that's the 0 direction. And astronomers like to mark circles out in 360 degrees sometimes, and sometimes they like to mark it out in 24 hours. So half a circle is 12 hours, quarter of a circle is 6 hours. So that lets you put where the Earth is at different times and what angle that that points to. And just so, oh, I should put let's say Yvea, if I send you the link to this nice chart, can you put that in the notes too?
Yes. You want me to put it into the chat, correct? Or to where?
Should I email it to you or should I put it in the chat?
Either one's fine. Sorry, I misheard you. Where do you want me to put it?
Oh, you said that there was something about notes or?
Oh, yes, show notes. I can do that. Yes.
Okay, because that way I don't have to interrupt. But you look at charts like this and they mark it out with the hours. So what the hours mean is let's see, here we are in October. So looking away, you want to look away from the sun at midnight. That puts you at about 4 o'clock. And so that's what you're seeing around midnight. These days are the things that are at around 4 o'clock in the sky, as good because they like to measure angles with hours. And then you can say, well, Jupiter moves more slowly. It's 5 AU away, so if it's 1 inch for the Earth, 5 inches for Jupiter, and it takes 12 years to go around. So it moves about 2 hours a see, sorry. Here I am this is what happens when I get nervous. And
I don't want to put you on the spot. Why don't
okay, so I'm going to jump to the chase.
Okay.
Okay, jump to the chase is things go around the sun the normal way, which is prograde. And so if you put your thumb on the sun and your finger on the Earth, then you're unscrewing the jar of peanuts. And thumb on the Earth, sun, finger on Jupiter, you're unscrewing the jar of peanuts. But most astronomers actually live on the Earth. So if you put here we are in March, June, September. Okay, so if you put your thumb on Earth and your finger on Jupiter, as you go from June to September, you're still moving counterclockwise. You're still unscrewing the jar of peanuts. But then as you go from September to December, what? So you actually, so you can feel it going the other way. So basically, compared to, from the point of view of the Earth, is the Jupiter going clockwise or counterclockwise? So it always goes counterclockwise around the sun. The Earth always goes counterclockwise around the sun. But from the point of the view of the Earth, there's a point where it looks like it goes clockwise.
Oh,
and that's
great. Yeah. So for the ancients, this was a big deal. Because you see the planets going across the sky each night a little bit further along. And then there'd be these weird times where they're like, doop, 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 and they're like, oh no, let's go back this way. And then, oh no, we're going back this way again. And they could do that for a while. And then again, you'd be like, doot, 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 like, oh no, we're reversing directions. So you'd see that little planet in the sky. Now, when we say reversing directions, that is against the backdrop of the screen of all the constellations. So if here's the constellations, you'd be seeing it kind of going this way and then back and then. So that little zigzag is retrograde. Now, if you are on the Earth and the Earth is the center of everything, this zip, zap, zoop is problematic, right? To say the least. They came up with these marvelous mathematical kind of workarounds called epicycles, where there'll be like, sort of imagine it's going on a circle, but no, there's going to be a circle traveling on the circle. So for a certain point, it's going to, and so then they ended up needing to epicycles and the epicycles and the epicycles and the epicycles. And so I forget how many layers of epicycles they eventually needed. They could kind of get something that approximated it, but if you have a model where the sun is in the center and everybody's going around it, so you're no longer the center, it was just mathematically so much easier.
Yes. And so mathematically so much easier. So it's a very interesting thing that in the intro to Copernicus's book, in the foreword, the priest who wrote the foreword says, oh, and don't worry, this is just a mathematical convenience. We don't really believe this.
I think that might have just sort of allowed them to be able to publish it.
Yes. So
and then so that might have been just sort of, yeah.
Well, that's the question. Is the person who wrote the foreword, did he believe? Yeah, did he believe it was just math? Did Copernicus believe it was just math? but it's certainly the safe answer. And if you go
That's
to
right.
if you go to a lot of the oldest universities in Europe, astronomy is in the math department,
Hmm.
just to be safe.
Just to be safe. It's a good place to hide. So why don't I share this? Here's another way of thinking about epicycles. I'm going to go over to my document camera. This little guy is the sun, right? And this is, let's bring it down here. This is a constellation, the constellation of the Fox. This was sculpted by Carolyn. Isn't that cute? So here's her constellation. This is a constellation. So imagine this was a group of stars. And I'm going to move the sun down here further. Here is the Earth rocking around. And let's say this is Mars or Jupiter. So here we go. If I am, so this is going to travel around here faster than this is going to travel around here. So we're kind of coming over here. And if I'm looking from Earth through Mars, it hits the head of the Fox, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're going to move a little bit further, right, along. The Earth has moved more. Now I'm looking through here, and the I'm kind of so here. So let's see, as I'm coming here, so it's the head of the Fox, the middle of the Fox, and over here I'm seeing the tail of the Fox. If I but I actually maybe I need to back this up a little bit more. So as I'm coming here and this is moving a little bit, I'm seeing this move to the left, moving this way across. So this is pointing out past the Fox. Now I'm going to, and so it'd be moving this direction. But then as I kind of come in here, we're going to sort of change our angle on this, and that is going to now make this, I'm sort of seeing a sort of different angle on the Fox. And then as this continues to move here, then I'm seeing it then starting to proceed again in the other direction on the Fox. I don't know if that was very clear. But if we imagine that we are we're approaching here as this is moving, I'm seeing Mars move this direction out in front of the Fox. As I start to catch up with it, my angle changes and I start to go backwards on the Fox. And then finally, when I get way out here again, then I'm seeing Mars start to go in this direction again. So as I made this little passage in here, my perspective on where I am relative to that Fox changed versus when I was just moving out here or just moving out here. How was that, Leslie, for a rather?
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. And it was awkward to move Mars and Earth at the same time. It was kind of tough.
Yes. So should we try it with a stationary Mars?
We should, and it'll be secret astronomer knowledge.
Ah, right.
And
and
the story about Pluto. So we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it twice. Once, if you have something that's moving very, very slowly, like
Pluto.
planet X, you're looking for planet X out past Neptune at the turn of the last century. How do you do it? Well, the person who discovered Pluto came up with how you find things really, really far in the solar system. And it's what we still use today. You look at what's called opposition. So when it's sun, earth thing you're looking at. So if you have something that's moving very slowly, we can just assume it's still, and we line it up so it's sun, earth thing we're looking at. And as you move past, like you were showing, that angle changes. And if in this case, it'll change pretty quickly. But if you move your stationary thing twice as far away and the Earth moves and you're near opposition, it'll move more slowly. So that's the key, is you look when you are sun, Earth thing you're looking for, and you look, if you want to look for something that's far away, you look for things that are moving backwards, retrograde, and slowly. And that's how we found Pluto.
So if you looked then at my finger relative to my head with them far away, as we, oh, I guess it's the opposite of this. That here you see sort of a lot of movement, and here you see just a little bit of movement relative
Okay,
to my face.
let's see how many people we can get to stick their fingers up on the gallery. Okay. All right. So you and I, let's see if we can get everybody to do it. Okay. So stick your finger, just about 6 inches in front of your nose, and move your head from right to left just a little bit, and you see your finger move pretty much. And then if you
yeah. I'm with you here.
stretch your arm out and you move your head the same amount.
Ooh, oh, not a lot of movement, lot of movement, not a lot of movement, lot of movement. Okay.
So if you're so
So
head
that then allows us to figure out how, by looking at that degree of motion, we can figure out how far something would be from our vantage point.
right. So maybe this is the sun, your eyes are the earth, and your eyes are moving from left to right.
I like that idea.
And
So my eyes, if my head turned invisible and I just had one eyeball, as I'm doing this, that eyeball is moving around the center point in the middle of my head.
right. So if you're looking
That's
directly
unusual.
away from the sun, and you see something moving quickly from as the earth, your eyeballs go from right to left, you see something go very quickly from left to right, it's just an asteroid. We can just ignore it, because who cares about asteroids? Okay, asteroid science
What could possibly go wrong?
But if you're looking
that whole Atlas project, right?
If you're looking for something far out in the solar system, you're looking for things that move slowly. And that's how we still do it today.
That's really cool. So to wrap up, let's just share some tools and things. Now, a moment ago, you had a headlamp with a red light on it. What's the deal with that?
So red light doesn't blow your night vision as badly as white light does. I have not tried much journaling while outside. I would be interested to hear if people do, and if they just go with, black on white, or if they find that they can dare to do color under a red light. It would be very tricky, I think. And when you're out in the field, never mind. That's a distraction. Okay, so red lights are useful. And I put in the clear dark sky. Somebody else talked about stellarium, so I'm gonna pick this guy out.
That's a beautiful app.
Yes. So I'm gonna log off from there, and so it looks like this on your phone.
Okay.
And let's see. As you move it around, it shows you what you're pointing at.
And it also has the comet on there.
Yes.
Yep. So when you look to the west tonight, the skies are clearing up where I am. I think I may have a fighting chance of finding the comet. That's fun.
So cool. Good.
All right.
That's good.
So
And but it might not have the comet if you are out of cellular Wi-Fi. So if you're, about to head out from your house, maybe take a screenshot so you can orient yourself. And
so just somewhere near the head of Serpens,
yeah.
off Ophiuchus's shoulder.
Well, but I don't know about you. I could not see any stars near the comet. I mean, I could see Venus.
Yeah. And Ophiuchus is so big that it doesn't help.
Yep. Binoculars are good, especially for the comet. You don't care as much about magnification for the comet. You just want light gathering.
Okay.
I learned it's very cool how I learned, but that's a different story. I learned how to take long exposures with my phone. So just in case you all haven't done this yet.
I don't know how to do that.
So on my phone, you click on this little arrow here.
Oh, who would have looked there? Okay.
And that gives you more controls along the bottom. And this one that's got the little stripies, that's the exposure time. So you can click it time, and you can whoops, that's not what I meant to do. You can move it all the way to the max.
Yeah. But you need probably a tripod would be helpful for that.
I was taking them by putting the I'm not proud. So the bottom of the phone on the ground.
There we go. There we go. That's good. I like it. So I want to show another little gizmo that is fun. I'm now thinking of getting a little piece of red cellophane to put over the tip of this, but this is a little book light. It is a VEKKIA Vecchia book light, and I can charge it by just plugging it in to a little USB port, and it then clips onto my journal, and it has 3 different stages of brightness, and will and does a great job of illuminating things at night, and it keeps your page from flapping around in the wind.
Nice.
VEKKIA Vecchia.
IA. Oh yes, right. Other tools. So Roseanne's little video on doing so you can start off with pages that are already not light. So I happen to have around my house randomly a pad of black paper, or many of you are fans of colored paper, gray paper, and what kind of gel pen, or what a giveaway. I found the gel pen worked pretty well. The begins with S. What's it called?
For drawing the comet, I thought a colored pencil was a great tool. So I had pre-painted an area of dark sky, so I just made a black splotch on my paper, and then I sort of figured out where my horizon would be and how many degrees, 1 potato, 2 potato, use the potato method, 10 degrees, 20 degrees, to figure out when I was looking at it, it was about 10 degrees above the horizon, and then use this just a regular Prismacolor pencil to give myself a little comet.
Yep. I found that the chalk pencil did not do a really good job. And let's see, the last one I did, where did I do it? I did something. Oh, now I'm wondering, do I have a page that I didn't show? Because I did a night thing. Oh, so I was having trouble seeing, drawing in the dots of the star. So I just drew a circle around it, kind of did a Van Gogh kind of thing. So that's fine. And then the pre-drawing in the dark sky, that was another one of Roseanne's techniques too, was if you lay down a couple of different washes, then it gets darker and it's also a little interesting. And it was light enough that I could do pen. What kind of pen was this? I didn't write down what black pen. It was probably the zebra.
So what?
Oh, here we go. Right, trying to do it just straight on the gray.
Oh, on gray paper, I love it.
Yeah. And
try the Prismacolor pencil, and be like, oh, this is working.
Okay, yeah. So I wasn't really happy with how well they stood out. So I did a Van Gogh and just.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Now, so before we kind of wrap here, so what I'm thinking about for kind of mapping this retrograde, Mars in retrograde, is, so this is the ecliptic, so the line that the planets go through. It's the sort of the sequence of the zodiac constellations are along the ecliptic, and so they'll be along here. So I'm thinking of making myself, on a double page spread in my journal, the sort of drawing out the constellations of the zodiac, and then tracking over time Mars coming along, watching it then do its reversal, keeping the dates in with all these, right? And watching it then its do reversal and it's back. Does that seem to you like a solid way of recording the retrograde experience?
So you might find that it's easier to plot what you see into your journal if the star positions are a little more accurate. So there might be something like, oh, if you can, have a more accurate sky chart and throw it on a light table and trace over it or something like that.
Or I have no shame about just gluing something into my journal.
Right.
But I'd want to get part of a star chart that has the minimum amount of distortion.
Yeah.
So
I put the link to this particular one, which I think is a nice scale for Mars.
So this is going from, it is starting right now. Is Mars in Gemini?
Mars is just leaving Gemini.
All right. So start with Gemini, and by the time it leaves, this.
Yeah. Yeah. So it ends up about halfway between Castor and Pollux, south of them. So like.
Let me hold that up.
If you think of the twins holding hands, so
Yeah.
here you have the head of the twins and the feet of the twins and their arms. It'll end up, so you don't want to cut off Gemini or you'll lose the experience of that loop.
Okay, so from a little bit beyond Gemini on one side to, is that Cancer on the other?
Yeah, if you get Gemini and Cancer.
Okay.
That'll
So
get
if I just have on a piece of paper mapped out the positions of Gemini and Cancer, I'll then be able to trace that retrograde over them.
Cancer is so boring. You might want to go as far as Regulus and Leo just to give yourself some context.
Okay, but it will never. But they'll be out of retrograde by the time they're over by.
It will. So
Okay.
that's only if you want to be able to look at the sky and then look at your page and easily go from one to the other.
Okay.
Because Cancer is full of really faint stars.
But no disrespect to Cancer.
No disrespect.
Um,
For Jupiter, this particular chart, so Jupiter has a very tight loop because it doesn't move very quickly. So it's basically the Earth
oh, it's all in
moves
Taurus.
and then the Earth moves back. So I've been putting dots on it, but they're coming over themselves. What I think I'm going to switch over myself for Jupiter. You have Aldebaran, which is the bright star in Taurus, and the way H.A. Ray draws it, which is of course the right way. This is one of the horns of the bull.
Yeah.
And right now, it is, if this is the line between Aldebaran and Elnath, I don't think before this season I've ever bothered to say that name out loud. So if you draw a line between those two stars, Jupiter is now east of it and will be moving west. So, for tracking Jupiter, it might be enough to just draw two dots and take up a whole page to draw those, maybe some of the fainter ones around it.
That sounds like fun.
And Jupiter is going to be wicked bright, as they would say in Boston. So.
As they would. Leslie, thank you so much for coming on and sharing some of these ideas with us. I think that this is going to really help people be able to have some ideas of things to play with in this sky. Before we close, I want to bring on the mad botanist. Pick your brain. What are you thinking about kind of what you might want to be putting into your sky journal?
I'm loving some of the techniques that I've been seeing here from all of you. Like doing the sky map, writing down all of the different times all over it. I really liked Billie Jo's idea about having the uniform circles in the line with the crosshairs on them. I was noticing that. I also noticed, what were some of the other things? I liked the way, Jack, that you had been noticing, sky angles, the angle of the comet, and then also, how many potatoes up and stuff like that. I liked the idea of pre-doing a background that both of you had done, so that way you have the night sky already there and you don't have to fiddle with it when you're out there trying to see. So that also would mean like knowing in advance sort of where you're going to be looking in the sky. So doing your research in advance seems to be kind of important. I like the idea of making some more poetry about the night sky. I'm getting inspired already, writing something later today because of listening to, and also diagrams, all the diagrams. I know I'm probably going to be going back and watching the session again and diagramming what you all were saying so that I can really internalize how it all kind of works in the celestial dance, which is going to be the name of my poem, Celestial Dance. So fun. Yeah, I I was looking back at some of my old eclipse notes and thinking about how I could have done them better based off of seeing the techniques that you all were using today. So really fun.
That is really fun. I really like those ideas and remembering the poetry in it. So I think that I had better get a little chart. I want to do a chart now from Taurus through Cancer. Start tracking Jupiter. I won't get to sort of see it start its retrograde, but I will get to see it turn the corner.
Oh, so Jupiter's in Taurus. Yeah, Taurus through Cancer. Yep. That'll get you.
And the the David White poem was Sweet Darkness. And Avea, you had a thought.
Also, it's a reminder to me that hearing all of the different names of the stars and the constellations and everything makes me want to redo for myself a tour of the night sky, just so I can sort of remember where everything lives in relationship to each other. And I would recommend that from everybody's different latitudes. Latitude? Yeah,
Right.
latitude.
Right.
Stars book is good. I love that. It looks like yep, exactly, the Curious George writer. I've heard so many good things about that book. I myself have a really cool calendar called A Year of the Night Sky 2024,
Oh.
which has been showing me each month what the sky is supposed to look like where I am. So it might be time to study this. And it's supposed to have all sorts of things on it that say, for example, that last week was the Draconid meteors, and this week is the Orionid. Or, sorry, next week rather is the Orionid ones, though it did not mention the comet, which is kind of interesting.
Probably when it was made, they might not have had that been tracking that.
Yep.
So the
no,
it was discovered in 2023. The name of this, right? It's 2023/A3, and I thought that the A meant that it was discovered early in the year, but let's see, discovery. Yes, it was discovered back in January of 23.
that's exciting.
So before press time of your calendar.
That's exciting. It's a reminder that I like that because that's a reminder that even when we think we might know everything as, as solidly as what's in a calendar, there's always going to be more things to add as we continue to pay attention to the.
Like a couple years ago, when Betelgeuse and Rigel switched brightnesses. Holy cow! It's
the other thing. Oh no, you're fine. The other thing, this is something that I do more for myself, but I'm going to put it out there in case anybody else finds it easier too. Because sometimes I have a hard time remembering how the science works, although I'm working on developing my science brain. I sometimes will put things more into cartoony form. So this is an example of me trying to understand what was happening to the eclipse last time. Because I was trying to figure out why it was that when the eclipse began, I saw the shadow coming on this side instead of this side like I pictured it. And so I had to mentally figure out why it was happening that way, where the sun was going in that direction. And so then my way of figuring that out was eventually that the moon, relatively from our perspective, was moving slower than the sun, but the moon got a head start. As if, like, if we pretend that the horizon is the starting line, the moon was over the horizon first and rising up in the sky very slowly, but the sun got a bit of a late start and was like, woohoo, I'm going to run really fast. And so what happens is that the sun runs behind, and from our perspective, the moon. And so as a result, it looks as though the moon is sort of standing still compared to how fast the sun is going, and that's why the shadow goes that way. So that's the thing that kind of helps me. And then, working on that some more, I pretend that there's an announcer saying the moon falls behind in the spectacular race across the sky, and the sun's like, later, Luna, and the moon's like, oh, it's not a race. And then at the end, they're like, good race, my friend. And like happy and hugging and stuff. But I don't know if that helps
That's
anybody.
good sportsmanship. That's
very
good to see that among the celestial bodies.
Exactly.
Wow.
So if that helps anybody else with like conceiving and remembering how it all works, I want to pass on that strategy too. Thank you.
So we've got a lot of stuff to play with up there. There probably are going to be right now is it's a sunspot time. We may have more aurora coming our way. Why don't I also show people? I've got. No, it'd take a while to. Another time, I'll get it out. I've got an arrangement that I made with a telescope to be able to draw sunspots easily and accurately. That's kind of fun. I can share that with people. But let's start kind of sky geeking. Also be aware as we're kind of looking at these constellations that the constellations that people are usually talking about are constellations that are Greek constellations that were adopted into Europe, and that many other cultures also have really, really cool constellations and constellation stories. So invite yourself to kind of find out some of those. Maybe even find out if you can. Sometimes it's hard to do, but you may be able to find out constellations that are used by indigenous people in the area where you are exploring. What would that look like? So the lines and then also whenever I go out with my kids, just like it's fun to find patterns in the clouds. You can make up your own constellations, and that's a hoot too. I'm really excited to say that when we started this, I looked out at an overcast sky, and now I look out my window and it is bright blue from horizon to horizon. So this may be a comet night after all. I hope that everybody has fun. And Leslie, I want to thank you again for coming on and sharing some of your thoughts and ideas with us. And we will look forward to more astro shenanigans to come.
Great. So I've got Sweet Darkness on the calendar. It's already put on Ivea. It looks like it does throw it on the 21st of the month. So I don't know if you can help shift it to the third Monday.
No problem.
Okay. And I think I put everything in the chat that I said I was going to email you after. So I don't think I owe you any links.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Avea, thank you so much for being here. Friends who are journaling friends, I hope that you also have a great time playing with these ideas. Let's see what happens. And it's a beautiful world. It is an amazing the more we learn about this world around us, just the more complex and astonishing it becomes. Exploring things from a scientific perspective doesn't take the wonder and the awe and the joy out of things. It increases our wonder and humility before the vastness before us. What an incredible opportunity it is to be alive and sentient. So I want to encourage everybody to be as alive and sentient as you can. And while we're at it, let's just throw in kind. Until we meet again, everyone, we'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, everybody.